What if I told you that you were never broken in the first place? No, really, stop and hear that, because it's not just a clever opening line. This isn't one of those self-help slogans you scroll past on a feed, tap a heart on, and forget 10 seconds later. I'm saying, in the deepest, most literal sense, there is nothing wrong with you. Not in the way you've been taught to believe. From the moment we could understand words, we were given a script, not our own, but one handed to us by parents, teachers, culture, society. And hidden in that script is a whisper that says, you are incomplete. You need to become something more. It's there in the way the report card is circled in red. It's there in the magazine covers telling you how to lose 10 pounds in 10 days. It's there in the way your boss says, you're doing well, but there's room for improvement. And slowly, without even knowing it, you begin to see yourself not as a whole, living, breathing human, but as a project. A to-do list with no end. You see, we are raised in a culture of fixing. Our entire language is built around it. We work on ourselves. We improve ourselves. We go on self-improvement journeys as if life were a constant renovation project, hammering away at some mythical perfect version of ourselves that's always out of reach. And if we're not fixing, we feel guilty, lazy, like we're falling behind some invisible race that everyone else is secretly winning. But have you ever stopped to ask, who decided you were broken? Who gave you the measuring stick you've been holding up to your own soul? And why, no matter how hard you try, does that measuring stick always seem to get a little longer the moment you think you're close? The truth is, this broken feeling, this idea that something is missing, is a trick. Not a malicious trick, necessarily, but a trick of perspective. It's like standing in a hall of mirrors. Every reflection is distorted, and you keep adjusting yourself to try to match what you see, not realizing the distortion isn't in you. It's in the mirror. Alan Watts once said that trying to improve yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. Think about that for a moment.
You can't do it. You're chasing your own tail.
You're treating yourself as an object that needs to be altered, as if the self that is doing the fixing and the self that is broken are two different people. But they are not.
It's all you.
And the more you try to split yourself into fixer and broken thing, the more fractured you actually become. It's a perfect trap. You feel not enough, so you try to become more. But in chasing more, you reinforce the belief that you are less. It's like pouring water into a cup with no bottom. The more you pour, the more empty it stays. Here's the hard truth. There will never be a day where you wake up, stretch, look in the mirror and say, that's it. I'm finally done.
I'm perfect now.
That day doesn't exist. And yet, so many of us are living as if we're headed toward it. We put happiness on layaway, telling ourselves we'll finally feel whole after we get the degree, after we lose the weight, after we earn the money, after they love us back. And when we finally get the thing, the finish line moves. Always. Why? Because you can't fix something that isn't broken. But you can waste a lifetime trying. You might be thinking, okay, but if I stop trying to improve, doesn't that mean I just give up?
Stay the same forever.
No. That's the beauty of it. This isn't about stagnation. It's about transformation, but the kind that doesn't come from force. You've been trying to change yourself like a sculptor chipping away at stone, but maybe you're not stone. Maybe you're a tree. And a tree doesn't grow because it forces itself to. It grows because it simply is.
The moment you stop seeing yourself as something to repair, you give yourself the freedom to grow without shame.
You let go of the invisible pressure that's been choking the joy out of your life. And ironically, it's in that letting go that the real change happens. The kind of change that feels like breathing again after holding your breath for years. But before you can let go, you have to see the prison. You have to see the invisible rules you've been living by, that you must always be working on yourself. That rest is laziness. That flaws are failures. That happiness is a reward you earn. These are not truths. These are agreements. Agreements you never signed, but have been obeying as if they were laws. The world will tell you to hustle, to grind, to keep striving toward a future version of yourself that will finally be enough. But enough is not a place. It's a decision. And you can make that decision right now in this breath, without losing anything except the weight you've been carrying. So here's the question. If you weren't trying to fix yourself, what would you do?
If there was nothing wrong with you, nothing missing, nothing broken, how would you live?
Would you still be running so hard? Or would you finally stop and look around at the life that's been waiting for you? I'm not asking you to believe me yet. I'm asking you to listen. And maybe, just maybe, to let the possibility crack the wall you've been building around yourself. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the truth is, the moment you stop trying to fix yourself, something extraordinary begins. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and something strange has happened. The constant background noise in your head, the critic, the coach, the relentless taskmaster, is gone. No voice telling you to do better, try harder, fix this, fix that. Silence. At first, it's unsettling. The silence feels wrong. You've been trained to think that inner voice is your compass, your motivation, your survival. But then you realize, without it, you feel lighter, freer, as if someone untied a rope you didn't even know was around your chest. Now, without the constant self-surveillance, you wander into the day like a traveler in a strange country. You notice the way the sunlight touches the side of the building, the way the wind moves through the trees. You taste your coffee instead of gulping it between thoughts of the next deadline. You're here. Fully here. This is what happens when you stop trying to fix yourself. You start to see life not as a series of problems to solve, but as a series of moments to experience. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The world doesn't stop reflecting your old image back at you. People will still tell you, in subtle or obvious ways, that you could be better. Advertisements will still sell you the next thing to complete you. Friends might look at you strangely when you say you're no longer obsessed with improvement. They'll ask, so you're just okay with being like this? As if like this were some kind of illness. That's when you'll realize, this entire machinery we call modern life depends on people believing they are not enough. It's the fuel. If you truly believed you were whole right now, 1,000 industries would crumble overnight. Think about it. How many products, programs, diets, and life hacks would still sell if people didn't feel a low-grade panic about themselves? And here's the twist. The moment you opt out of the fixing game, you also step outside of one of the deepest forms of control there is. The world can't sell you a better version of yourself if you've already decided the current one is enough. That's freedom. Not the kind you wave a flag for, but the kind you feel in your bones. Alan Watts once compared life to music. You don't listen to a song just to get to the final note. The joy is in the playing. Yet, we live our lives like it's a race to some final, perfect version of ourselves, sprinting past the actual music to reach the imaginary end. And we wonder why we feel exhausted, disconnected, and strangely empty even when we win. You might think, but I've made progress in my life because I worked on myself. True, effort matters. Growth happens. But there's a difference between growing out of curiosity and joy, and growing out of fear and shame. A flower doesn't open because it hates being a bud. It opens because that's what it's meant to do. Right now, most people are growing out of fear. Fear they won't be loved. Fear they'll be left behind. Fear they'll be seen as unworthy. And that kind of growth is brittle. It breaks easily. But when you stop fixing, when you start accepting, something shifts. You grow from a place of strength, not weakness. And that's when life starts handing you experiences instead of checklists. You take risks because you want to, not because you think you have to prove yourself. You rest because your body needs it, not because you earned it. You say no without guilt, and yes without calculation. It's almost funny, isn't it? The moment you stop trying to become enough, you start living in a way that feels more than enough. But, and here's the paradox, letting go is hard. It's terrifying. Because if you've been running your whole life, stopping feels like dying. You've built an identity around being the one who's always striving. Who are you if you're not chasing the next version of you? The truth? You're still you. You're just no longer trapped in the loop. You've stepped out of the hall of mirrors. You've stopped playing a game that never ends, and for the first time, you can see the world without the distortion. So the question becomes, are you ready? Are you willing to step off the treadmill, knowing the world will try to pull you back on? Are you willing to be whole in a culture that profits from your brokenness? Because here's the secret, the journey you've been on wasn't about fixing yourself. It was about remembering. Remembering that you were whole before the world told you otherwise. Remembering that your worth was never in question. Remembering that life is not a self-improvement project, but a self-discovery adventure. The moment you see that clearly, the rest of the story changes. Let's return to where we began. You standing there, believing you are broken, believing that if you work hard enough, you'll finally become someone worthy of living their own life. It's almost tragic when you see it clearly, like watching a bird frantically peck at the bars of a cage, never realizing the door has been open the whole time. The door has always been open.
The question isn't how to be free.
The question is whether you will dare to walk through. Because walking through means leaving behind a whole identity you've spent years building. The identity of the struggler.
The improuvé. The fixé.
It's seductive, that identity. There's comfort in always working on yourself, because as long as you're working, you never have to face the terrifying possibility that you are already enough. If you're enough, there's nothing left to chase. And without the chase, who are you? But that's the beauty. Without the chase, you're no longer a shadow of the person you're becoming. You are the person you already are, raw, imperfect, alive. Alan Watts would remind you, the meaning of life is not hidden under a rock you have to find. It's in the very act of living itself. It's in the breath you are taking right now.
In the sound of my voice in your ear. In the strange, beautiful truth that you are here, conçu, feeling, sensing.
This moment, is the miracle. And you've been so busy fixing yourself, you've missed it. Imagine for a moment you stop. Not just for a second, but for good. You set down the endless list of what's wrong with you. You stop chasing the version of yourself that only exists in your imagination. What would flood into the space that opens up? Peace, perhaps.
Joy.
Connection.
Hormeb. Nothing.
Just a quiet, steady presence that feels like coming home. The irony is, when you stop trying to fix yourself, you actually become more magnetic to life.
You logmore.
You say yes to opportunities without fear of not being ready. People are drawn to you because you're no longer wearing the heavy armor of self-criticism. You're not performing.
You're simply there.
And maybe that's the most radical thing you can do in this world. Simply be. Not become, not improve, not transform, just be. Look, life is not a problem to be solved. It's a reality to be experienced.
You don't fix a sunset. You don't fix the sound of rain. You don't fix the laughter of a child.
And you, in all your chaos and beauty, you are no different. When you realize this, you'll look back at all the years you spent in self-repair mode, and you might laugh. Not out of mockery, but out of tenderness. You'll see that you were never broken, only convinced you were. And you'll forgive yourself for believing it, because almost everyone does. And here's the part they don't tell you. The moment you stop trying to be enough is the moment you realize you've always been far more than enough.
So, here's my invitation.
Stop.
Just for today. Stop fixing.
Stop editing yourself for the world's approval.
Stop waiting for permission to live.
Step into this moment as if it is the only one, because it is. And let the fullness of who you already are meet the fullness of life that's been waiting for you.
Because you are not broken.
You never were. And the most powerful thing you will ever do is finally believe it.